to celebrate a little bit that Germany has won the Eurovision Song Contest. We have won. Nobody likes Germany, but we have won. More than surprising. I wanted to talk a little bit about German authors. Well, one of them I've already mentioned in the last video, Cornelia Funke. And she's written some other books, which you are gonna see right now. So the last one, that's just, well, German, and they didn't translate it. I don't know why, because it's one of the most popular girl child series. There are movies too, so it's not just some random book. There are movies too. That's surprising for German books. An adventure is nothing you can plan like ballet or something like that. It is waiting just around the corner, and zack, suddenly it's there, Sprotte tells their friends. And sure enough, the girl gang, the Wild Chicken, doesn't have to wait long for their first adventure. Because the pygmies, 4 of the girl's classmates, free the chicken of Sprotte's grandmother. Naturally, this has to be revenged. I really like that because it's about friendship and sticking together against others, and I really love that. So, if it gets translated, no matter when, then you have to read that. The second one is Meyer, and he's like, oh my gosh, he's just writing fantasy books, well, mostly. I love him. I just love him. I don't know how he makes that. I mean, he's written so many books, and so many fantasy books especially, and most of them are like trilogies, and I don't know how he comes up with so many ideas, and it's always something new. There are a few books which are translated. It's called like The Water Mirror or something, and then there is a second book and a third book from this one, and I like those. Actually, I haven't read the third yet, but I'm going to. And then there's a trilogy about pirates. I think it's called The Water Walkers or something. I'm going to read that in like a few months when I have enough money to buy the books. But there are some books which are, well, it's a shame, but they are not translated yet. The one is called like, well, in English it would be something like Arkadia Awakes or something. The mixture of a mafia story and a fantasy story and a love story. It's like, wow, it's so great. I've read the first book, and the second book will be out in like a month or something. Then there is the story about people living in the clouds. Well, exactly, it's on the clouds, not in. And it's about dragons too, and a whole fantasy world thing. Like a little bit Chinese or Japanese, but I like that. It's just very exciting, and I can really recommend that one. And then there's a German author who writes a little bit more mysterious, and some of her books actually aren't fantasy. She's called Isabel Abedi, and she writes amazing books like those. My favorite one was Isola. Isola is about a group of young people, and they are participating in this project where they are in a movie, but there is no script, nothing. They are just thrown on this island, some kind of going out of control. And then there's someone killed. Oh, it's so mysterious, and I've read this in like one evening. I just couldn't stop reading, even if the next day I had school at 8 o'clock. So she's like, wow, really wow. And it's such a shame that her books aren't translated either. Last, but definitely not least, there is a trilogy which will actually, I know that for sure, be translated in English. But I think it will be coming out next year or something, the first book. It's by Kerstin Gier. Well, normally she's writing books like for mothers. This typical mother books, which my mother is reading, actually. Ruby Red, that's the first book, is her first fantasy book, like in ever, and it was such a success. It came out like a year or two ago, and they are already making a movie out of it. Sometimes it's really hard to live in a family with tons of secrets. At least that's what 16-year-old Gwendolyn Shepherd thought. Until one day she finds herself standing in the London of the last century turn. And she realizes that she is the biggest of all the family secrets. But what she doesn't realize is that between times you should better not fall in love, because that makes it even more complicated. So that's that about the book's authors. Well, maybe. You should read it, especially Meyer, because he's amazing.